You know, I'm just now realizing it, but this is the first time I've talked about Frank Ocean fully, be it between my blog or this channel. I know, that's weird. I'm sorry, I'm very late to the Frank Ocean boat, but happy to be here now, so let's just get into it. Welcome back to 10 Years Later, the series where I talk about albums from the 2010s that were either impactful to me, impactful to music in general, very popular, or just worth revisiting 10 years later for good or bad reasons. And I already said his name, you see the title, let's talk about the 2012 Frank Ocean album, Channel Orange. Frank Ocean, as I said, first time I've talked about him fully in my 5 years reviewing music, be it on my blog or this channel. So if you don't know who he is by now, he is a singer and occasional rapper from Long Beach, California, and one part of the famed hip-hop collective Odd Future. This was his debut album back in 2012, but his name had been buzzing for some time up to that point. Initially a ghostwriter for artists like John Legend, Justin Bieber, and even Beyonce, Frank was making noise with both his own music and appearances with other artists. He featured on Tyler the Creator's Goblin, as well as Kanye West and Jay-Z's Watch the Throne, and in 2012 released his commercial debut mixtape, Nostalgia Ultra. That was hailed as one of 2011's best records, and it was unfortunately one I didn't talk about in this series, largely because it's not on streaming services. Trust that I tried to listen to it, but the outlet I listened to it on was really glitchy and ripe with ads, so the experience was not fun. I really enjoyed what I could hear, and I'd love to listen to it again if sample clearances weren't an issue and it came to streaming. Blame Don Henley. Either way, a year later, he was ready with his proper debut album, a 17-track, 55-minute project that was just a few tracks longer than Nostalgia Ultra. It was also less reliant on samples, focusing more on different individual song structures and sounds. As I said, I was extremely excited to finally have my first full experience with a Frank Ocean project, especially given all the positive things I was hearing about this album from other people, and they were not kidding. Frank Ocean's debut album is still an incredible body of work. It's a sonically unconventional piece with elements of everything from R&B to soul to funk to psychedelic, but all weaved together to give it an incredibly smooth and lovely vibe. There's also a lot of good cinema influence on this thing, with a nice sense of structure in the whole radio station concept, and it helps that Frank himself is such an incredible vocalist that elevates a lot of these tracks beautifully. Start is a pretty nondescript intro, Frank basically turning on his TV and his PlayStation 1. You can tell as soon as you hear the buzzing of the old CRT going on. To start up what sounds like the noise of one of the 57 different versions of Street Fighter 2. I love video games, but I'm not a Street Fighter person, so I don't know if I could tell you which one. Either way, it's a somewhat cinematic intro that kicks us into the first proper song, and one I'm sure we know good and well, Thinkin' Bout You. What still to this day serves as Frank's highest charting single as a lead artist. This was the first Frank Ocean song I heard and got into, I believe back in 2015, long before I really knew who he was. To be fair, I actually knew about it first from the potato flew around my room vine that was popular back in the day. But once I found the actual song, I was able to ignore the meme and enjoy the hell out of this. I fell insanely hard for the mellow, emotional R&B vibes, the sticky hook, and the beautiful vocals. It's a song I can't help but sing along to, and I have a lot of memories then and now of trying my hardest to hit the high notes on the chorus, though no, I'm not going to demonstrate. Even if I could hit them consistently, I don't have much confidence in my singing voice. But either way, this has become one of Frank's biggest songs, and it's understandable why, because it's pretty beautiful. Fertilizer is another short track lasting about 39 seconds where Frank Ocean covers James Fauntleroy's song Fertilizer. This would have gone off for me if it was a full track, but sadly it's just a short interlude. I see how it plays to the album feeling like a radio station, but for me the short length was a bit of a turn-off. Though Sierra Leone is a somewhat shortcut where Frank tells a fictional story about a young man and woman who eventually have sex unprotected and have a child, and sonically this song is nothing but sweet, sweet vibes. Taking some influences from the old school sounds of Marvin Gaye, this song features glamorous, smooth production with Frank delivering plenty of the beautiful vocals we've come to know and love from him. Even though it doesn't last too long, it definitely fulfills while it runs. Sweet Life sees Frank reflecting on wealth and the effects it has on numbing people to the things going on in the world. This is another cut with a beautiful old school R&B vibe featuring luscious pianos, choir vocals, and a snappy beat. Frank also uses this cut as a showcase of his vocal power, moving between smoother, light singing and something bigger and more powerful in the chorus. He sells it amazingly, crafting a slightly more energetic cut that still soothes throughout its duration. Not Just Money is the last under 1 minute minute song on the record, and it's a bit of a skit featuring Frank's friend's mom, Rosie Watson. Here, she scolds him about how he spends money and warns him about how his spending can go wrong. I do think it was clever how Def Jam thought this was a paid actress when it was just something Frank recorded for the album, but again, it doesn't do all that much for me. The only thing that feels interesting about it is that it fittingly precedes the track Super Rich Kids, which is basically about blowing money. One of those should have heeded my advice kind of moments. Either way, this features much bouncier production than anything else with bigger, more staccato pianos. Frank's hook is more spoken, though it does have some nice charisma, but when he starts singing, the song really gets going. I think the writing also feels a bit melancholy in how it handles the reaction to money, and it's aided by a solid guest verse from Earl Sweatshirt. And Pilot Jones is a song about first love where Frank compares his lover to a drug. It's one of the more minimal and spacey songs here, where the instrumental feels a lot more hazy and low-key compared to everything else. That's a good thing though, as it gives Frank a great opportunity to just let his vocals shine through. It's a smooth, wonderful jam that succeeds as another moody vibe of a song. Then we have Crack Rock, and don't let the more boisterous drums fool you. This is by far one of the most emotional songs on the record. Frank discusses the war on drugs and tells a story about a man who was addicted to crack cocaine. It's a song that succeeds in how it feels fun on the surface but takes on a very dark meaning in its writing. Frank's vocals are as smooth as they come, which shouldn't be a surprise. This man could sing me a lullaby with how beautiful he sounds, and the darker subject matter helps make it an even more compelling song. Pyramids follows that, and I'll admit this one being almost 10 minutes long made me a little nervous, but I do know it's considered one of Frank's more iconic songs, so I was nevertheless optimistic going into it, and thankfully it uses the 10-minute length well. Frank spends the song discussing a queen who was revered in her homeland before becoming a stripper in the Western Hemisphere and being used and abused by men. He ties this together by making a lot of references to Cleopatra and how this woman is working in the pyramids, which is essentially a strip club. The first half is a silky, groovy song with a slick bass and plenty of upbeat synths that make it a great listen on its own, but it eventually transitions into something more of a club banger to tie in with the pyramid idea. Even with the long length, it never loses my attention, and I think it helps that Frank can lift this with incredible vocals. I could have seen the two parts working individually, but I'm glad they were paired together because it's a great cut. And Lost was one I was looking forward to hearing in its entirety with this album, as I had been hearing small bits of it as a rather viral TikTok sound. It didn't disappoint at all. On a track where he talks about a girl getting lost as a mule for a drug dealer, the instrumental is a bit more conventional than some of the other ones here. That's not a problem though, because the groove is absolutely infectious. The chorus is also one of the catchiest ones here, making me forget that I'm listening to a song about drug dealing. And I know I've made this point a lot, but I'm going to say it again. I want Frank Ocean's voice. I want to be able to sing like that, yes, but I think just hearing him sing to me throughout my day-to-day life would really solve a lot of my problems. I'd probably be a lot more productive in everything I do, honestly. Okay, I'm getting off track, but this is an amazing song. Then there's White, where even though I said that Not Just Money was the last song under a minute, this is the last one that I would really say is short, being about a minute and 17 seconds. It's an instrumental version of a song Frank did for the Odd Future Tape Volume 2. Though it was an interlude, I was actually able to pull from and put into my favorite tracks, largely because John Mayer's guitar solo is smooth as all hell. It's only a little over a minute long, but I don't mind hearing John Mayer make the guitar whine for a little bit. It also transitions nicely into Monks, which is a much bouncier song where Frank tells a story about a groupie that he met on tour. With pounding drums and brighter synths, it's by far one of the bigger songs here instrumentally. It works nicely though, as Frank is able to bring his vocal energy to this one very nicely. Also, I could be talking out of my ass here, but does anyone else get Anderson .Paak vibes from this? Like, doesn't this sound like a type of thing that Anderson .Paak would go on to make? I hope that's not just me. Bad Religion is a more sorrow-filled track that plays out like a bit of a therapy session with some discussions of Frank's sexuality, and it's one of the lighter songs here with some of the record's more emotional production. It's a piano ballad with some powerful strings and occasional drums here and there as well. These kinds of songs are pretty much made for Frank Ocean, as the pain in his vocals is palpable and really adds to the passionate writing. It's really beautiful and a song I'm sure I'll be going back to a lot. Then with Pink Matter, Frank keeps things extremely light on a song that features simple guitar plucks and writing that discusses female anatomy and pleasure. The downbeat feel really tones up the emotion of the minimal production, and Frank continues to nail it with his fantastic vocals. He also managed to bring the legend Andre 3000 to the track, and it does add some more pronounced bass to the table when he comes in. And when Andre starts spitting, it shouldn't be surprising that he does an incredible job. He goes for a bit of a faster flow, and his low-key vocal tone helps round out this sultry track perfectly. And in keeping with the album's cinema influences, Frank starts preparing to close the album with its penultimate track, Forrest Gump. This is a song told from the perspective of Jenny, the love interest of the titular character from the classic film Forrest Gump, which, yes, I'll say very quickly is a film I have definitely seen and very much enjoy. If I told you all the list of iconic movies I haven't seen, you might be appalled to hear me say that I have a screenwriting degree, but I certainly have seen Forrest Gump, and I love that movie. This song lives up to my enjoyment of the film. It's a sultry jam that brings Frank's vocals to the forefront. He really nails the romantic vibe of the track, and I like how he connected feelings of love to scenes in the movie, like Forrest running past the end zone when playing football. It's a smooth jam I fell in love with almost as soon as it started. And End fittingly closes the album with something pretty unique. Much like how the interludes are essentially background noise, this is essentially an exchange where Frank and a woman are making love, but it's set to the backdrop of a 2012 song, Voodoo, that Frank released on his Tumblr. Thus, the song is mixed in a way that feels a lot more hazy, where its romantic, smooth vibes are juxtaposed by their conversation, the rain, and the sounds of a passenger leaving their car and entering the house. I found this a lot more fulfilling than the other interludes, and I think that's because it had a bit more beef to it than the others. It's an ambient jam that ends the record in a pretty fascinating way, and it's an interlude I wouldn't mind listening to again on its own. Overall, my first journey with a Frank Ocean album was amazing. I love how Frank was able to create such a varied soundscape across several different genres while still allowing every song to be a smooth and enjoyable experience. I know it may seem weird to simply talk about an album's vibes in a proper review, but sometimes a form of media or entertainment can be enjoyable largely thanks to the vibes, and this record is pure vibes. The production is consistently stellar all throughout, and Frank's excellent vocal work is constantly on display here. He also brings these songs to life with clever writing and themes, helping to set himself apart and hook you in, while also begging you to give the record repeat listens. It's smooth and luscious as a passing listen, but also extremely layered and thoughtful in a deeper examination. I've already been a fan of Frank Ocean thanks to his incredible features, but this album really made me excited to dive deeper into his discography. I usually wait to listen to albums for this series until I have to do so around their anniversary, but I might have to cheat and listen to Blonde sooner. I don't know if I can wait 4 years. Back in 2012, a part of me wonders if I would have gotten this thing, and I think its appeal might have been a little lost on me. Listening to it now, I think it's a fantastic record, and it's got me pretty excited to explore the rest of Frank's discography. If I had to put it on my scale, it would definitely get an excellent from me. If you're in the boat I was in and haven't listened to this thing yet, definitely do so. Frank did a marvelous job with this album. But that's just my opinion on the record. What did you guys think about it? Did you listen to it back in 2012? Do you still listen to it now? Did you love it back then? Hate it back then? Do you still love it now? Do you still hate it now? Are you just completely indifferent toward it? Whatever your thoughts and experiences are, leave them down in the comments below. Let's keep this civil and have some fun as we like to do. If you guys want to hit like and subscribe and support some of my other ventures that I have linked in the description, thank you. If not, it's no big deal. I totally understand. And I've got one last video to film for July, and that is going to be on Nas's album Life is Good. I gotta take a minute before I get to that though, because it is hot in this room, I'm sweating, and apparently my camera's battery is low, so I gotta charge it. Either way, stay tuned for that, but until then, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Peace. Taking some influences from the old school sounds of Marvin Gaye, this song features glamorous, smooth production with Frank delivering plenty of the beautiful Joe. Damn right. Bring him back.